You know, some people out there, when they talk, they fake the funk. You want brutally honest? Well, if you want brutally honest, look no further than CG Ruthless Sports.
CG Ruthless.
CG Ruthless Sports.
CG Ruthless.
If you want your sports talk to be brutally honest, come check out CG.
CG Ruthless.
If you're not watching CG Ruthless, I don't know what to tell you. Representing the Niner Empire.
CG Ruthless.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. It's a 2-on-2. Please welcome my fellow Niner faithful, John Jay from the 49ers Ultimate Report, and please welcome my opponents from the Arizona Cardinals, Mauro Tanaka and the Cardinal Rule.
What is up? Thanks for having us, man.
How you doing?
No problem, man. So let's get on your debate, man. I know I do this where you guys can find you on your social media platform, but we can get on Tanaka first. Where can they find you on social media?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram, or you can just simply go on YouTube. Just tap my name on. I'll be there. I will do a lot of obviously Cardinals related contents, but I'm more focused on game day vlogs, which I have a lot of hits. So definitely you can check it out as well. But appreciate for having me here, and let's do this. Yeah,
and John Jay, where can they find you at, bro?
Yeah, so I'm John Jay, the 49ers Ultimate Report. I'm your reporter, opinionist, analyst, and die-hard fan. You can go on my YouTube channel, 49ers Ultimate Report. I update you on all the latest news, topics, and I also have Instagram. So if you want to hit me up on Instagram or follow me for all the latest posts is on that channel. So 49ers Ultimate Report and 49ers Ultimate Report at Instagram.
Okay, and where can they find the Cardinal Rule at, man?
They can find me on YouTube at the Cardinal Rule. The best, if you want to follow me on social media, the best thing to do is go to my YouTube channel. My Instagram, my Twitter accounts are there. I use Twitter more than anything, but go to the Cardinal Rule on YouTube. Find me there, and then if you want to check out my social media links, they're there.
Okay. Well, let's get on to this first ever 2-on-2 debate. Like last week, me and Norcam and Sam Dog and John Jay had a 2-on-2 last week with the Seahawks. Now this will be interesting. We have the Cardinals and Niners. This is an interesting divisional matchup. Let's get on to the topic of the previews of the game. Okay, Tanaka, what do you expect out of this game for the Niners and Cardinals?
Always. Well, historically, 49ers and Cardinals always seems like a shootout game. So I'm expecting a high-level shootout game. Obviously, defensive, offensive side. I want to see, high executing game. A very exciting matchup in this divisional game. But obviously, we're at home, and obviously, I'm a fan, so I expect to win and extend this undefeated stats on the board and still keep that statement that we're the best team in the NFL.
Okay, so John Jay, how do you feel about this preview matchup?
So when I look at the Cardinals and the 49ers, the biggest question is not going to be what the Cardinals are going to be able to do. It's what the 49ers are going to do. Right now, it's looking like Trey Lance is going to be the quarterback. So that's going to open up a different dimension. We don't know who the running back is going to be, but if Elijah Mitchell is there, that's going to also be a good positive. On the defense side of the ball, our corners are looking a little bit more stronger. So it's going to determine about our weaknesses, which is quarterback, running back, and our secondary. So when I look at the preview entering this game, those are the three important factors the 49ers have to look at.
Okay, so the Cardinal Rule, what do you expect from this preview with the 49ers versus Cardinals?
I think it's, you and I talked about this, previously. I think it's going to be a win for the Cardinals. Obviously, any given Sunday, anything can happen. Obviously the Cardinals looked really good against the Rams, but that people are talking about that was a letdown game for the Rams. They beat they beat Tampa Bay, and then they have this letdown game against the Cardinals. And certainly, if you're looking for a narrative that favors the Niners, could this be a letdown game for the Cardinals after their big win, right? So, I try to look at things in terms of probabilities and the way the Cardinals are playing, as tough as their offense has been to stop. And I think the probabilities favor the Cardinals in this one. But anything can happen, right?
Yeah. Okay. So the narrative of the Cardinals. Okay, I get that you guys came away with a big win, and the Rams were in the same thing with Tampa Bay. I think it might be a little bit of a trap, but I'm not holding my hopes up high on this one. But give me your takes on that, Tanaka. Like, what do you think of this kind of? Do you think this could be like a possible letdown, or maybe they're overthinking it?
I commented one of the videos previously, but anything can happen in an NFL game. And same that the Cardinal rule stated, winning an NFL game is definitely not. It's very hard, and especially national stage, like toughest, especially in the toughest division in the NFL as well. So again, anything can happen. One turnover can definitely define a game. Especially the Cardinals are, the offense just turned out. We're first in points and first in yards in the entire NFL. But if you guys can stop us, there's obviously a chance. But the other reasoning why we top is defense. People are not overlooking our defense, especially our DBs that is being overlooked. You see Byron Murphy getting picks and shutting down. He's in top in PFF for cornerbacks. Like, you're being looked, they're very executing. But if we can come short, it might be a trap. Like we see against the Jacksonville Jaguars, like they're leading the halftime. Like anything can happen. But the term and the importance of this game is definitely keep that consistent and execution towards 4 quarters in the game.
Okay. All right. So, hey, John Jay, do you find this game as a must-win for the Niners when it's like we're at this point we're desperate, just like Seattle was last week?
Yeah, every game in the NFL is always a must-win. It doesn't matter if you're a team at the bottom or the team at the top. Every game is a must-win game, no matter what, because it's the NFL. Now, right now, the Cardinals, they're flying high right now. They're 4-0, but it's the NFL. We don't know what's going to happen. So the thing that I really want to see the 49ers can do is control the run game. And depending if Trey Lance is going to be the quarterback, because that's what everybody is talking about at this moment, let's see how the offense moves down the field, because we have to put points on the board. So for me, if we're not putting points on the board, this is going to look like another Green Bay and Seattle game. We must make sure we put points on the board. So, of course, the Niners have to win this game because there are 2 teams in the top of us right now. You have the Rams and also the Cardinals. So, and especially in this division, which I already knew was going to be the toughest division. So it is always for the 49ers a must-win game.
Okay, so yeah, at this point, it is kind of desperate for us. But for the Cardinal rule, I know we got to this like last time, but I'll go to a different topic about your team. Like when you saw that game, like against the Rams, was it just the boost of confidence of your team that you probably feel like this might not be exactly a trap game like everybody would say?
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals played a hell of a game. The Rams had an off game. I think both of those things happened, but it did give me gave me a lot of more confidence in how the Cardinals are playing. That they're finding their footing, and this offense is kind of getting together, and kind of the players are finding their roles, and everything's kind of clicking. Again, anything can happen. The Cardinals are probably going to lose a handful. I mean, I think the Cardinals are I think they're going to be like 13-4, so I think they're going to lose some games, right? And this could be one of them, but it gave me more confidence that, people looked at their first 3 games. You can say, well, Tennessee is not as good as we thought they were. You barely beat the Vikings and they're not an elite team. And then you beat up the Jaguars. And this was a win against a team that a lot of people thought was arguably the best in the NFC, or at least in that conversation. So it gives you a lot of confidence when you see, a win like that. So for sure.
Yeah, it builds confidence when you're beating a team like the Rams, who got the most complete team in general. But the way they played against Seattle, it's anybody's guess, but it's on a short week, so you can't make no excuses for the Rams. And the Cardinals, I expect at least maybe a decent game, but we'll see. Well, here's a question from this Rams fan: should I start Trey Lance over Daniel Jones on fantasy football? Well, here's the thing. I'm not a betting man, but if Jimmy Garoppolo is ruled out, which I think it's 50-50, so I don't think he's possibly ruled out. I'm hearing a lot of this, and I don't know if it's true. But if you want to bet on it, then bet on it, man. But I'm telling you, I'm not sure, not guaranteed sure, because they could just let Jimmy in the last second and nobody would know. So Trey Lance starting slow but ended up strong. He is the X factor in this one. Danny Dimes. I think Danny Dimes would be your safe bet because he's going to start. So this division has caught up with Seattle formula. It seems like, except the 49ers, because the Seahawks lost, we're in third place. All right, let's get to the next topic of the question. Okay, so for your X factors of the Arizona Cardinals for tomorrow, who was the one player that just surprised you in those first 4 games that caught your eyes and say, you know what, he's really good?
Just one?
Yeah, just one player that you didn't expect. You didn't expect one player. The sleeper.
I think I definitely give a heads up to our tight end Max Williams. Our tight end was definitely not the hot spots since we got a full loaded of weapons and a wide receiver core. But you see, I think the Cardinal Rule did a collab with you and talk about a little bit of Max Williams, I do believe, and he's just used heavily as a pass protector. But I guess the Minnesota, they have a 90-yard, 1 touchdown game, and another one, a big touchdown against the Rams. That gives another weapon, which we did not utilize. He's about to break his career record in yards per season, in just one more game if he keeps doing this. So, we're definitely overlooking, because again, this is a team sport. Every position is a must utilize. So I think tight end Max Williams' productivity is definitely being overlooked and underrated from this Cardinals going 4-0.
Okay, all right. So if I had to go by my own team in general, then I'll go on to Cardinal Rule, then I'll go to John Jay after that. All right, so for the one guy that caught me by surprise, man, so you get this guy in the 5th round, and he's turning out to be really good. But he's actually kind of played pretty solid. I didn't expect much from him. I would have thought maybe he would be on the reserve, but I'm getting more impressed by Diamond Lenore for some reason. He's kind of been very capable to step in and play pretty well. You would have think Aubrey Thomas was the guy, but when you saw him play through those 4 games, he's kind of had a lot of opportunities, and he's kind of taken advantage of it. If injuries were to come into play, which it has happened, I'm more confident with this guy. That's if I want to say it that way. And for the Cardinal Rule, who was that one sleeper from the Arizona Cardinals that caught you by surprise?
So the guy who caught me a little by surprise is not a guy who hasn't played well before, but it's a guy who I thought was losing his role in this offense, a guy who I thought was kind of on his way out a little bit, and that's Christian Kirk. He's a good receiver. He's played well for them in the past. But with AJ Green coming in and Rondale Moore, I just thought his role was going to be diminished in this offense. And he had a couple huge games with some really big touchdowns. And, they're spreading out a lot. So no receiver has dominated the targets, but he has maintained a significant role in this offense. And I kind of thought, he's in the last year of his rookie deal. I just kind of thought that he was going to end up kind of being diminished in terms of his role, but he's still been a big part of the offense.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I was hearing a lot about this guy too. So, John Jay, what's another sleeper for the 49ers that caught you by surprise?
Well, first, I want to give a shout out to Jan Paul Edward. What's up, man? I see you on the Beast Writer. So I wanted to say that first. So one player that I probably already knew coming into the league, who has actually surprised not just me, but probably a lot of 49er fans is Azeez Al-Shaair. I always mispronounce his name because that's a hard name to pronounce. But this guy's stepped up, when Greenlaw hasn't been there. He's been tackling. He's been leading in all the games in tackles. And it really shows you. He's even playing with an arm brace. So it shows you that he's not 100% hurt, but it shows you what he's able to do. That linebacking core is an extension of the run on the run defense and also on the pass game. So it's really good that he has stepped up, and I knew he was going to step up. A lot of people called me a little bit crazy last year, but it really shows you why he has done a really good job in the linebackers with the linebacking team.
Well, yeah, when I thought about it, yeah, he did kind of stood out against the Lions. He did stand out on a lot of games. Even when Dre Greenlaw was injured, I felt like the linebacking core was really good. But then if Greenlaw comes back very soon, I feel like that core is going to get a lot stronger than it ever was. But let's get on to the okay, so there's another question. Question for John Jay. I'm curious to your thoughts on the 49ers O-line this season. I always enjoy your takes on the 49ers O-line. Can they stand up to these Cards front?
Yeah, so thanks, Peo Time, for the question. So this year, the offensive line has started off really bad for some reason. Jimmy Garoppolo and Alex Mack were supposed to be a really good combination, working really well. So he hasn't been looking really well. Trent Williams is coming off an arm injury. He was also dehydrated. He had to put IV in him, so I'm not sure how well he's going to be on that game. And then, of course, Mike McGlinchey, we already knew, when it comes to his pass game, it isn't the best. And when it comes to Daniel Brunskill, he's not a natural, guard. So for some reason, the line hasn't been at the level that everybody thought was going to be. So that's my thoughts on the offensive line. And when it comes to the defense of the Cardinals, I haven't seen a lot of Cardinals games to make any assessments with that. But this weekend, I'm going to look at the tape to make my final assessment when it comes to that defensive front of the Cardinals.
Okay, let's get on to that question about, okay, since you guys are Arizona fans and you guys are all guys that know about your team in general, how is your front four? Like, okay, Mauro Tanaka, I'm going to get to that question with you first, then I'll get to the Cards rule after that.
What do you mean front four? Are you talking about the linemen or are you talking about
the
receivers?
What's good about them? Like, what's really good about your front four? Like, I mean, are they really – like, I've seen a lot of good stuff when it comes to Chandler Jones and quite a few of your other guys. But what makes it very special about this D-line this year? Like, I'm hearing a lot of good praise about them.
I think, quarterback pressure is definitely huge. We haven't make a, huge productive that we're expecting, but we see a lot of tackle for loss, quarterback pressures. We definitely didn't have that compared to last season. Last season we had injuries and it was a mess. But this year we see a consistent pressure, but we do expect more like sacks, which is a negative play. So we want to see definitely more of that, more explosiveness. Obviously from JJ Watt, I haven't seen a sack from him. But so far I'm very happy because those hits definitely counts because they accumulate and definitely can distract the quarterback. So definitely looking explosive, but just stay healthy. That's all I got.
Okay, so Cardinal rule, same question to what I said to Mauro Tanaka.
So our defensive front, you got J.J. Watt, who has come in and hasn't had any sacks yet, but he's really impacted the game in a lot of ways that don't show up in the box score. He's put pressure, on the quarterback. And I'll tell you, our run defense has been our biggest weakness. We talked about that last night, but he has been one of the bright spots in that. And he's been in on some really key plays, like the pick six against Jacksonville. Was directly attributable to Watt putting pressure on Trevor Lawrence and him throwing the ball away to Byron Murphy Jr. So, defensive front's been a mixed bag. They, obviously, Chandler Jones had that 5-sack explosion week one and hasn't had a sack yet since. So a couple other guys have had a few sacks, but they have been putting pressure on the quarterback consistently. And I think, and I've talked about this in a few streams, I think the reason we haven't seen as many sacks is teams have looked at this defense and said, you need to stop the pass rush if you want to have a chance. So what they're doing, I think, is they're scheming their offensive game plans in ways that get the ball out quick and kind of evade the pass rush. So the defensive front's been pretty good putting pressure on the quarterback. They've struggled against the run. There's some of the other interior defensive linemen like Zach Allen hasn't played particularly well thus far. Lecky Fotu, a second-year player, struggled a little bit. So it's been a mixed bag. Better against the pass than against the run, though.
Okay, so since I was looking into what you were saying like yesterday, I did look into the last 3 games of your defensive line matchup. Like they can really create pressure, but I guess like you said, the run stop has kind of been the little bit of their weakness a little bit. Like if you've noticed, like the games that they had before, it was like you had Dalvin Cook breaking out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had like Henderson and Sony Michel were breaking out a little here and there, but they abandoned that running because they were catching from behind.
Mm-hmm.
But when you had a team like, I think what makes it more interesting about our matchup is we're going to have Elijah Mitchell back possibly. And since we just cut these 2 running backs off the practice squad, that kind of leaves the team with most confidence that we don't need to have these guys out there. So I think it leaves the fact that we're going to have Mitchell coming back. So it's like, I feel like, okay, so John Jay, how do you feel about Elijah Mitchell possibly coming back in this matchup? Does it really give him the favorite? Like, let's say, for example, those fantasy football guys, they want to get that guy with the big all-purpose. But what's a good matchup to have it against the Cardinals? What's your put on that?
So when it comes to Elijah Mitchell, if he is playing, I think the offense is going to be, moving down the field. The thing about Elijah Mitchell that a lot of people who don't follow, like me and CG, is that when he gets open space, his speed is really quick. That's the reason why we brought him in, because of his quickness. If he's able to get open field, he's going to give you a lot of yards. So that's one thing that Elijah Mitchell is going to do if he's on the field. And if what they've been saying, that there's been a lot of pressures, but not a lot of the box score, it still doesn't matter, because even having the pressures, you have the game stats and you have the stats that are not on the paper. So you have to see how those stats really matter. So if the defense is getting pressure on the quarterback, it's still, as deadly versus getting a sack, because that's the thing about the pressure that is the biggest stat that the NFL for some reason does not look upon. So, but if we're able to get the run game, like Trey Sermon, he had a really good game, but that Seahawks run defense was trash. So, but I know that hey, it's true. That's what the number says. I'm not lying. I'm not taking a shot at them. That's the truth. But when I look at the Cardinals, they're not at the bottom. They're not at the bottom. Their defense is not at the bottom. And if I would like to ask of the Cardinals, is your defense at the bottom? Because if your defense is at the bottom, then Sermon is going to be running also on you guys. So that's also the thing, that you guys are not as bad on the run game when it comes to Seattle. So yeah. it may sound a little bit, a little bit like I'm taking a shot, but that's the reason why Sermon had a really good game. But Elijah Mitchell is a better runner in general.
Okay, let's take a question on what John Jay said. We'll go on Cardinal rule on this one.
So, yeah, I mean, our defense overall has been good. Not elite, but good. Like, where I think yards allowed, we're somewhere in the, I think 8 to 12 range, somewhere kind of, I don't know, I'd have to look at it more closely. But, teams have run on us like we talked about. But if you look at, first week 1, Cardinals gave up 13 points to Tennessee. Week 2, they gave up a lot of points to Minnesota, but they started shutting them down in the second half. Most of that was in the first half, so they made that adjustment. Week 3, Jacksonville. Jacksonville's not a great team. They do have a few playmakers. Gave up 19 points, but 6 of those points were on that missed field goal return. So that, and the defense, that was the special teams, not covering. So the Cardinals defense gave up 13 points. And then we gave up 20 points to the Rams, but 7 of that was in garbage time, right? That touchdown in the fourth quarter. So when you look at the Cardinals defense, yeah, teams have gashed them in the running game. But what's happened is the defense has made adjustments in the second half, and a lot of times shut down those running backs, or at least slowed them down the second half. Jacksonville still ran in the second half, but the Rams and the Vikings weren't running as effectively in the second half. But even on top of that, on top of those adjustments, the Cardinals offense has been so effective, those teams fell behind and had to start passing. So like if you're as a 49ers fan, what you have to hope for is that the Niners come out running and do it effectively, keep pace with the Cardinals, force some turnovers, right? Because Kyler's thrown a few picks. So, you need to get a few turnovers and keep the game close and keep running it, right? That's what you have to hope for. But if this Cardinals offense, which has shown an ability to spread it around, gets ahead of you, that running game, you're going to have to abandon it, right, at some point. So I know that's more than you were asking about. But, yeah, the defense is good. It's not elite, but it's good. It's certainly better than I'd say Seattle's defense and some of the other defenses you probably played. But you can run on them. The question is, can you keep running into the second half if you fall behind, right? That's the tough part there.
Oh, so it's like a bend don't break type of defense. And the same question with you, Morrow.
The Cardinals are pretty much saying everything, so I don't know if I can add. But there's definitely one thing I can add is, coaching. Coaching has definitely been improved over the years. Cliff Kingsbury is definitely the hot seat, and obviously defensive coach or defense coordinator Vance Joseph was a previous head coach for a couple of years. Being very effective, especially what Cardinal said. Like the second half adjustability has been just great. Like you see your flaws, you see your mistakes, your bad plans for the first half, and you just come up in the second half. Like you see him in his stats or in the games. Like we just gave them points in garbage time. Literally, we just keep shutting down. So it's very good to see the adjustments that the coaches have been made to keep this team up. So kudos to the coaches.
Okay. All right. So we can get on to specific questions for you guys, since you guys are the opposing opponents for us. Give me any question about the team. Doesn't matter to me.
Go ahead. You gotta go.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah,
you can go first unless you want me to go tomorrow.
Yeah, that was too quick. So
okay, all right.
I need to think a little bit.
All right. Well, so okay. The Cardinals. The thing about the Cardinals, and I am going to ask a question. I'm setting it up right this year, like we talked about last night. CG is more than they've done in the past. Is they're spreading the ball out. Okay, Morrow talked about Max Williams. I talked about Christian Kirk. You got AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins, Ron Elmore. Those are and then Chase Edmonds catches the ball in the backfield. That's a lot of weapons. So from a 49ers perspective, I know cornerback's kind of been a concern for you like it had been for us too. How are you covering all those guys defensively? What are you going to do? How do you cover those guys? Who do you think can be, which cornerbacks do you think are going to be able to kind of make that happen, right? Or how are you doing that defensively?
Okay, well, that's a good question. So, John Jay, you can go on it first, and then I'll go on it last.
Okay, so when I look at all those weapons, of course, it's just like the Seattle offense, all those weapons, So basically, it's a real concern. While our secondary, is a little bit, not the best at the moment, we finally have some depth. I just saw that Josh Norman was practicing, contact, so that's really good. So he was playing contact, and today, so that was really good. Drake Kirkpatrick got an extra week learning that 49er system, so you have depth. Emmanuel Mosley, of course, he's not, the top corner, but he has a really good experience. And Diamador Lenore. So right now we have 4 corners right now that can, step in. At the same time, no one talks about our linebackers. Fred Warner and Aziz Al-Shaair can also play, side to side. They're very quick guys for very big dudes who are linebackers. So for me, when it comes to that, our linebacking crew is always going to be how well we play our run defense and also how we play our pass defense, because both those guys, Aziz Al-Shaair and Fred Warner, move side to side so quickly. I've never seen big linebackers have that much speed. So that's probably a good way, maybe just to slow down. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if what I'm saying happens, it's a possibility. So those are basically a little bit of some information that I see when I watch the 49ers games.
Can I just jump in here? Just add one thing. As a Cardinals fan, the one defensive player I'm most worried about is Fred Warner. It's Nick Bosa is a great player, but it's Warner that worries me because, like I said earlier, if you're going to beat the Cardinals, it's interceptions, and Kyler struggled sometimes seeing the ball in the middle of the field. So, if the Niners are going to win, I think like against Minnesota, Kyler threw that really bad pick 6 to Nick Vigil, like a linebacker. And that's the kind of plays that, if the Niners are going to beat the Cardinals, it's Fred Warner making those interceptions in the middle of the field against Kyler. And then obviously, running the ball if the game's close. So, yeah, Warner to me seems like a key for the Niners.
Yeah, the key for us to stop Arizona's offense, which I don't think it's going to happen, is good. We had just had to limit their production, like limit it, like just take limitation on what they do. Like you're not going to stop Kyler Murray, but what you can do is prevent a lot of big potential plays from happening. Like we got to be able to create pressure on him and be able to make it to where he has to throw the ball quickly, or at least try to escape and get out of bounds, or whatever works for that way. For our cornerbacks to match up, it's like Emmanuel Mosley. Maybe you might want to put him on a guy like Rondell Moore. I think Rondell Moore would probably be a solid matchup for him, but I think it would come into a really good, interesting matchup because they're both quick in some ways. Drake Kirkpatrick's very familiar with AJ Green, but then Josh Norman does have familiarity with DeAndre Hopkins and other people around the pass, so I think he would match up fairly good against him. Um, it's going to be a lot difficult to stop this Cardinals offense because you guys got a lot of weapons, and especially the players that catch the ball at the backfield. Chase Edmonds and James Conner, they're very effective as a receiving back too. And yeah, everything kind of takes care of itself. But here's an interesting question from your fellow Cardinal fans. What is the big difference between Miko's defense and Salah's defense? Okay, I'll get to that question. What's different about Salah's defense at the time was he was being more vanilla, conservative, he was kind of like not trying to like go as aggressive. But D'Amico, on the other hand, he's very aggressive. He kind of mixes up every now and then. He's not afraid of taking changes of his coverages, and that's what some people get upset about. But he's kind of like showing a little bit. And I know that sometimes people criticize his coverage at times or the way he does stuff. But at least the difference with Salah is he was being too conservative. Like, what do you think, John Jay?
Yeah, you basically hit it out the ballpark. When it came to Robert Saleh, he was very conservative on first down, second down, and third down. And one of the things that Robert Saleh, he got very too conservative on third downs, which a lot of times, teams will get first down on us. D'Amico Ryans, what he's trying to do is he's trying to be more aggressive. So he's not being conservative. So he doesn't care if it's first down. He doesn't care if it's second or third down. He's going to do the same thing at each play, which has been a little bit of an issue for him. So one thing that Saleh did right was be a little bit conservative when it came to first down situations, second down. But D'Amico, it's hard for him to plan what, offenses because he's going to be doing almost the same thing in different packages. So it's going to be really, really hard to determine what he's going to be doing because everything's going to be intermingling and interchanging. I've never seen a lot of changes, in each play because one thing I've been watching this year is that it's not been the same rotation. It's been in and outs in different types of players, which have been affected, some of the times and bad for us other times. So that's how I see D'Amico. And he's only going to get better and better once he finds out what works and what doesn't work.
Okay. All right. So we can get to another topic. So Mauro, you can ask another question. You can ask a question since Cardinal Rule asked it.
All right. So I was actually trying to say about those weapons we have, but let's focus on our QB1, the MVP from Kyler Murray. He has been playing with the 49ers, obviously from 2019 when he got drafted. So I'm pretty much, you guys saw that Cardinals against 49ers with Kyler Murray. It has been a shootout, a very close game, all of the series. And you guys see, like most of the game, Kyler Murray ran a lot to avoid escaping or have like a touchdown. Like I think a good one is the 2019 away at Levi's. I think he has a late fourth quarter touchdown, rushing touchdown. And last year's home game, Arizona, he had like I don't know if it was a fourth down or third down. He had like a long run that we almost went to the red zone. Now, I'll have to ask you, if you're going to bring that pressure, because you guys have a talented, like probably one of the best D lines in the NFL, but also let's see if the cornerbacks, DBs are shutting down or weapons, then Kyler probably is going to be running like he has been doing the past series. How are you going to stop him?
That's a good question. Well, the problem with mobile quarterbacks is we haven't really found much of an answer at that because if it comes down to it, it's like you kind of like got it nailed to the coffin to this situation. Like mobile quarterbacks have been our weakness on defense for quite a while. And I think the best way to stop a mobile quarterbacks is to be able to have somebody spy him or at least try to have somebody as quick as him to stop him from getting those big plays. But like, for example, John Jay, what's the solution, man? Come on, genius.
Anyway, so the thing about mobile quarterbacks is that it's always bit us in the back all the time because the way we play defense. The thing that you have to understand is that coordinators always try to blitz few opportunities on a mobile quarterback. Why? Because when you're blitzing, everyone is rushing in, and a mobile quarterback is able to maneuver. So if there's open space in the middle, they can go down and get 10 yards. If they're being chased, they're going to run out of bounds to avoid getting hit. So the way to stop a mobile quarterback is not to blitz. And one of the things that's going to be hard for the 49ers because they will be blitzing. And one thing about Nick Bosa, who I want to talk about is that if Nick Bosa, is basically, giving that left tackle, whoever that left tackle is, a hard time because this dude's coming off an ACL injury and he's performing better than all of our defensive lines. And I don't know how he's able to do it. And Nick Bosa, if he's able to get through that left tackle, the speed of an edge rush will probably get him. So basically, if you're only blitzing on the edge where Nick Bosa is and try to make sure you're not blitzing and keeping what CG said, a spy, meaning that Fred Warner has to play middle. He's not going to be rushing in. He's not going to be playing back. And that's how you beat him. And then we also have someone called Samson Ibukam who said the best way to get a mobile quarterback is to make sure that you are not chasing them, is you're basically running with them at the line of scrimmage. So when he's coming at you, you wait for him and take him down. So those probably is the best way that probably the Niners can take him down. But you can say it, you have to do it on the field.
All right. So here's an interesting question from Zeke Moreno. How do you guys feel about Trey Lance? How confident are you guys in him? I feel confident about the ceiling, the potential. I feel like, what do we got to lose with this kid? Like, I like what I see out of this guy, even though he had his moments. But I feel like as the season goes on, I feel like he'll be the guy. I feel more confident. I feel a little bit more confident about him than Jimmy. But that's just me. But what do you think, John Jay?
Well, one thing about me is that I was actually, someone who was actually scouting this guy before the season ended. So I was watching his style. And one thing that basically changed my mind, I thought, this guy is another guy who's basically a running quarterback. And I'm like, wait a second, he's under center. So Kyle wants his quarterback under center because that's how they run. Also, Kyle had a fullback and his two leading receivers were his tight end. Made 100% if the Niners were able to get him, and we drafted him. And one thing that he's been showing in that second half is that when it comes to his intermediate passing, he has to work on that. But when it comes to the way he's able to move out, that dude can escape. And you can see how fast he is when he's in open space. So right now, when it comes to his running ability with the run game, that's A+. But he has to work on that intermediate passing game because once he gets better on that passing game, our offense is going to blow up. But right now, it's just one game at a time. We have to see if he's able to do it consistently. But I'm very proud of what I saw Trey Lance, a rookie who came in and did what he did.
Okay. So here's the answer of what we can do against Kyler Murray. It's not going to be easy like most people. But like they said, Fred Warner just knows how to keep up with these kind of quarterbacks. But if I were to scheme some way to stop like the way we did against Russell Wilson, that would be the best way to go. But you need to make sure to get somebody to spy, be able to have somebody quicker to keep up. And then maybe you'll be able to stop this offense a little bit more. I mean, I don't think it's much to do with Bosa getting to Murray. I think it's enough to get him pressure and maybe get him to be sacked by one of those other guys. Maybe that's what happened. Like I've seen plays where Bosa doesn't have to really make a sack. He just has to be a factor, and maybe another player from the other team, from our team, will at least get to the quarterback. Like I've seen it happen with Bosa to where he was actually affecting the play, and then I guess D Ford or one of our D tackles got to the quarterback that was mobile. So I think that would be your best strategy. Like I know a lot of people say he's not fast, Bosa's not quick, but he's a lot talented than Joey is. Let's be honest about that. Joey's really good too, but I think the talent of Nick is just off the chains. Like this guy's got a lot of heart, and I can see where the techniques, but he's not going to get most of the mobile quarterbacks. But if you get somebody around him, they'll finish it. So, what's you guys' thoughts of it? Like, okay, yeah, because let's see. I think Bosa will be able to be a factor, but I don't know how many sacks he'll get. I think it'll be a lot harder to get to a mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
But all
let
right,
me-
so John Jay, we can ask a question.
All right, so let me ask a question. So I think for me, one thing that I want to learn is I want to learn about the opponent. So for a Moro or a Cardinal rule, what is besides your quarterback? We've established that he's a MVP, caliber. What is something that your offense, besides your receivers, what makes that team, put a lot of points? Is it a good offensive line? Is it a good run game? Is it just Kyler Murray in general? What makes that offense really click, or is it just a team effort when it comes to how good that offense is?
Mara, I'll let you go first because I feel like last time I said everything and didn't give you any room. So you go first, and I'll fill in whatever gaps are left.
There is definitely, as you mentioned, John G, there is a reason why the Cardinals are leading in points and yards. If I go specific, I know you like analytics, 35 points and 440 yards. I mean, that is massive, which I think is like 320 air and like 110 rushing, which I'm assuming. But anyways, I think he just like executed everything. Last year we saw a lot of Kyler Murray with D-Hop connection, which you guys know very well against the weak one. You guys got beat up. I'm sorry, but you guys like DeAndre Hopkins go like off. But if you can see like throughout the season from a Cardinals fan perspective, it was pretty much between like obviously there's Larry too, there's Chase, there's Kenyon Drake. He's not anymore, but this year is different. It's more like all teams organized, coaching, quarterback, O-line's being healthy. Obviously, don't forget the D-line, but on the offensive side, we got weapons, running backs being effective. Because the last game against the Rams, like pretty much the first half, it was just passing game. The second half, we're trying to play smart and burn the clock. We went run game, so it just affected both ways. It's all is just team offense. That's the only that I can say.
So I think when you look at what makes this offense so good this year, I think there's a lot of things. They've added some key players, but I think the number one thing is that they are no longer like two-dimensional. Like last year, it was DeAndre Hopkins was a target monster. He got an overwhelming number of targets, and they didn't really even use him that creatively. A lot of hook routes and then they throw a few screens to Larry Fitzgerald, who isn't as shifty as the guys we have now, and then Kyler would run when he got in trouble. Like that was our offense. And this year they've spread that ball out so much more. So I know it's still the receivers we're talking about, but I think the key is, and what has made this offense so dynamic, is that Kyler's only running when he needs to. He's throwing the ball more, running less. He's throwing for more yards, rushing for fewer yards, and he's not just throwing it to DeAndre Hopkins all the time. The targets are spread really evenly. So it's that no longer being one or two dimensional. It's such a varied offense that it makes it hard for defenses. You take one or two receivers out, okay, we got two other guys who are going to get a couple touchdowns. And you look at who's had big games, and it's bounced around. So I think that versatility in the offense is one of the biggest things. And then Kyler's taken a step forward to be able to orchestrate that. So, yeah, it's that becoming less two-dimensional, really.
Yeah, because he's got a lot of weapons. Like the weapons have gotten better, and it's hard to even defend which one to stop, because if you stop this guy, it could be like, oh, this guy might even be a factor now because you just stopped this other guy. So that's like, how they say pick your poison. And it's kind of like you got to really look at the matchup. Like DeAndre Hopkins can be a factor, but if you stop him, then you got to watch out for Rondé Moore, and he can be a guy that makes the big plays happening. But if you stop him, then maybe your tight end might step up. So that's just one of those pick your poison. So it's like, I look at it that way. But okay, so do I feel Mosley is really good at some point at some games? Like there's some potential in him where he could play at his best, but there's times where I'm like scratching my head, like, what is this guy doing? You know, it's like I kind of feel like he's a solid capable guy that can step in and play right away. But my thing with him is he kind of gets too many penalties sometimes. Sometimes he costs us a little bit of a game, and I feel like that's how I would feel. But John Jay, don't you feel that Emmanuel Mosley's kind of like a solid guy, but kind of a little inconsistent at times?
Yeah, Emmanuel Mosley is really good on certain coverages and bad on certain coverages. In the start of my channel, I did like looking at the corners before free agency, and one of the things that Emmanuel Mosley is that when it comes to certain zone schemes and certain coverage schemes, he's good at some and he's also bad at some, but he really has a really good, like as a veteran, he's a good veteran to have. And one of the things that if he's able to do is that if they basically just run certain coverages that really help him, he excels at that. But just like as Cardinal Rule and Morrow said, when you're dealing with those weapons, it's gonna be a lot of one-on-one. So hopefully Emmanuel Mosley plays the way he did against the Seahawks, but the Seahawks, they're not that same dynamic team that they were for many years. But we'll see how he does against those wide receivers.
Yeah, see, we kind of played solid against Seattle's offense and stopped Russell to like throwing like 149 yards, but he still had 3 touchdowns. That's the only issue. And talking about our chances, man, it has to be Elijah Mitchell for this point. Like, if I had to pick an X factor of why we should be able to pull an upset, but I'm not putting my hopes up there. It's smoke and mirrors. But for us to actually have a chance, this guy has to ball out. He has to have a big game. Our running game really has to be on a roll in order for us to kill time of possession. And it's possible because you look at the Cardinals run defense, yeah, some of it does kind of go based by garbage time too, like you just said, but it's like it's a bend don't break type of defense. But if you can keep on exploiting that weakness, it can be a long day for either team. So it depends on it. So what do you guys really think of it like that? Like, okay, I'll go to Cardinal Rule.
Well, I was going to tell you, I think your key is your defense. And it's because here's the thing. The 49ers and Kyle Shanahan are good at running. They're going to be able to run. The question is, does the game script allow them to keep running? So your defense has to keep you in a game that's close enough that you can keep running. Because you, in my opinion, you'll be able to run even if it isn't Mitchell, right? Because Shanahan's that good at doing that. You need the game to stay close enough that you are able to commit to the run. And that's your defense's job. So in my opinion, the defense is absolutely your key. If your defense can keep the game close, then you can keep running. If you can't, I think it's going to be a long day for the 49ers.
Okay, Mara, what's your thoughts, man?
I think game plan, like last year, the first game we won away at Levi's, but when you guys came here at home, you guys beat us. It was definitely a different game during these 2 series. And I remember you guys use backup running back, and obviously usage of a lot of fullback. You guys, Hughes Check is his name.
Hughes Check.
Yeah, Hughes Check.
There you go. I remember you guys burned us. So because our linebacker didn't have like a game experience, and obviously didn't have that athleticism and speed to keep up with you guys. So that might be one of the little concernings out there. But other than that, I'm just expecting execution, just an execution to try to win a game. But I'm looking forward. It's going to be a fun game, that's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, Kyle, you need to go use Juice Check on the field right now.
No thanks.
You need to give that guy the ball. Feed the juice, because that's what's been the problem with Arizona. They didn't stop our fullback before. So, all right. So let's get on to the final prediction, then we'll end the stream from here. So I will give the floor to John Jay.
Well, when it comes to this game, on paper, it's basically very simple. The Cardinals are supposed to win. They have a better defense than the Seahawks. They have a better offense than the Packers and the Seahawks. But when you compare with all those weapons they have, now one of the things that we're going to see is that if we can establish the run game. So basically, this is just if we do everything correctly, I'm going to use this as a prediction. If our run game averages 5 yards per carry, opens up the play action. If Trey's going to be playing there, the play action is going to be flowing really well. Trey Lance is also going to be escaping. And if our defense, if basically everything is going good for us with the linebackers, as I mentioned, if Nick Bosa gets a lot of pressure, our interior defensive line will go get and give Kyler Murray and the run game a hard time. If Fred Warner and Azeez Al-Shaair do their job and basically continue to, be, good contributor at the run game and good contributor at the pass game, if everything goes well like that, this game's going to be very close. And I think for the first time, I think the Niners are going to slow down the Cardinals. I don't think it's going to go 30 points. I think it's going to be 28. I'm going to say it's going to be 28-24, and I'm going to choose the upset. I feel this is a trap game for the Cardinals. Everything's going good for them. So I think the 49ers will find a way to put points on the board this time. I think if everything goes well for us, that's the score. I'm calling this the trap game of the week. I got 49ers 28. I got the Cardinals 24.
Okay, I'll go. I guess Mauro can go next, and then I'll go after him.
All right, perfect. Well, we already talked to this, but there is a reason why we are undefeated. Yes, there's team got lucky because missed field goal and etc. But win is a win, loss is a loss. We're currently the first in the NFL, so we need to keep it up. Again, as John Jay mentioned, it might be a trap game. We almost had a trap game against Jacksonville, but this is a home game, division round. We already made a statement in the previous game against LA, an away game. Now it's time to come home, in front of Red Sea, our fans, and show what we got, that we're still the best, to prove that we're the best team in NFL. And I'm going to predict it's a good one. John Jay said a good one. It might be a high 20, but I kind of want to break the 30 since we keep doing it. I'll say like 31-24 Cardinals, and make another statement and keep up taking over the NFL in front of Red Sea.
All right, I'll be on to the flow. Okay, as I've said before, it's like if we play like up to what we did, then I think it's possible. But realistically, man, I'm just not putting my hopes up, and I know it's kind of ridiculous that I'm losing faith in what I see in my team. But until they prove me, can they prove me? If they can do exactly the way it's going on, if we can run the ball effectively good, if we can really have a lot of time of possession and play good defense, then of course it's a possibility we could upset them. But it's going to be disappointing for me to say it. But if we keep playing the way we've been playing the previous weeks, it can just go down to at least a 2-touchdown defeat, man. It's like Cardinals are very hard to defend. They're a very good offensive team. Their defense is not as bad as people think they are. I feel that when it comes down to it, even though we're good on the road, we haven't lost on the road yet. But it can come down to a defeat, and it's not looking good. Then I got to just say what I got to say. I got to say that the Cardinals are going to win 35-17. I know it sounds kind of like I'm losing hope, but you got to prove it to me. Prove it to me on the field is all I ask. It's like I want to see it to believe it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep it simple. Anything can happen any given Sunday, obviously, right? So if the 49ers win, it would be an upset, but I'm not saying that can't happen. But I think the Cardinals offense is really tough to stop. I think the Cardinals defense is decent, good enough, to get the job done. And I think the 49ers are struggling right now. And their quarterback situation is a question mark. So I think it's going to be a good win for the Cardinals. 34-17 is what I've been predicting, and I'm going to stick with that. I know Niners fans aren't going to like that. And maybe the football gods will prove me wrong, but that's my prediction, 34-17.
Yeah, realistically, when I say those kind of scores, I'm just speaking realistically on my heart. But hopefully I am wrong, and hopefully they do this. and then maybe we can pull an upset. But I have to see it to believe it. But yeah, I definitely like what I see out of Deebo Samuel, and it's gonna be an interesting game. It's definitely the game of the week because this is a divisional game, so it's anybody's guess. But even if my fan base don't like how I said it, maybe it's just me just speaking truth and not being homerish a little. But I know we have a chance. Not saying there's no it's any given week. So as far as like everybody else, we are going to finish the stream and I appreciate every one of you guys to come onto the stream, especially Mara Tanaka for making it happen. Huge shout out to him. He made it happen. He was talking about a 2-on-2. And then John Jay was somebody I suggested to have in mind. And we were looking to get the AZ in, but he was busy. So lucky for me, I was on a stream with the Cardinal Rule, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's do
I
it."
was your second choice. What the hell, man?
No, I'm just playing, bro. Just playing.
Don't do that.
No, but you're
I
Mr.
agree.
Reliable. Like you've been
I
Mr.
appreciate it.
Stream, like streamathon. I wouldn't
This
say
is my
back.
second stream tonight, so I'm on a streak.
No, but you're a good dude, man. I was just like
appreciate
busting.
I know. Just
Hey,
Good
but you
times,
got
man.
2 strings, so I think fire. Yeah, everybody's having a good laugh. That's what matters. But
yeah,
I'll give
for
you guys
sure.
your final say, and then we're gonna end the stream. I'll give it tomorrow, and then you're out of the stream after that.
All right, well, CG, appreciate it. As always, have a talk with you. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Joseph, the Cardinals Rule. Hopefully, we can keep up together. But yeah, I'm very excited for this upcoming divisional rival. The only thing I want to say, just stay healthy, both teams, because I definitely want to see a high quality divisional match, a shootout. So obviously, I'm a Cardinals fan. I'm rooting for the Cardinals. I'm going for the game, obviously, season ticket holder, trying to flex that, but the Cardinals for a win. But I also want to say good luck for the 49ers. Stay healthy, and let's perform a great entertainment in the field. So it was a blast, and hopefully see you guys in the next one. I'm out.
All right, and the Cardinal Rule. I'll definitely give you your final say.
Well, I appreciate you having me. It's always fun to be with you. It's good to do a collab with John Jay. I haven't really done one before, and then obviously Morrow. He's a fellow Cardinals content creator, and this was our first opportunity to do anything together. So I just love the community that is being built, and even though we're division rivals, that we can have a good time and just enjoy talking football together. So I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the chance to hang out with you guys, and it was a lot of fun.
All right, man. That's a good thing. John Jay, the last floor is for you.
Well, first of all, CG, thanks again for inviting me to another of these 2-on-2s with NorCam and the Sam Dog, and now with Cardinal Rule and with Morrow, who I've had on my channel before. And so it's wonderful, bringing this community together, because while we may have different colors, different teams, we love the NFL. We love football. We love talking football, and at the end of the day, when it comes to, our teams, I know, when it comes to the Cardinals fans, they're very passionate with their team. But this is the reason why I say this, and I said it at the end of the last stream on the other show, is that no matter what you may think, the 49er fan base, we're passionate, we're strong. And that's the reason I've been saying this for the past month now. The San Francisco 49ers are the best team in the NFL when it comes to the fan base. So shout out to all the 49er fans, and I just wanted to say that.
All right. So I'll give you my final say, and this is it. All right. Appreciate every one of you guys. Despite this being a division, we all wish everybody the best of luck, but this week it's just not especially against the team. But you know what? I enjoy this community. Ever since that I got to be on the AZ Sports NFC West Roundtable, it's kind of given me a lot of perspective about the division, and I started getting the hang of it. I just love the NFC West. It's one of the best division in football, and we got one of the best fan base in football too. You got a lot of these fan base who are very passionate. People overlook the Cardinal fans. Like, they're starting to come around. You see a lot of these Seattle fans. You see a lot of these Rams fans, but it doesn't compare to what the 49er fan base has. It's like, it's good to have a really good divisional Right. You know, it's like it's a good thing. So I thank you guys in my bottom of my heart. And hopefully in the near future we could do a 2-on-2. So we're about to end the stream in a bit. So feels good. You know, hopefully we do it next time. All right. All right. Peace, y'all.